What's going on, guys? GFXLab, and I haven't made a Minecraft video in a while. I've been really busy with stuff. I haven't really had the chance to just sit down and make a video, but I tried to go to bed early today. It's a Friday, and it's not Friday anymore, but it was Friday when I was recording this, and I wanted to go to sleep at 11, but I ended up waking up at 2 o'clock, and here I am making a video. I've read a lot of comments from you guys, and a lot of the comments are about nostalgia. They're about people talking about how they've come back to these videos to listen, to watch a few videos, or they come back and they want to listen to the whole series again. So I was like, well, let's talk about nostalgia. And I started looking up articles and started reading about stuff. And I thought it was really interesting what nostalgia is to the science world. So one of the things that I came across was that nostalgia, and I haven't played this game in a while, so I have no idea what's new in this game. I'm just you guys know my format, though. I don't really play the game that much. But as we run across stuff, we'll figure it out. So one of the things that came up was that back when they first sort of thought about nostalgia was actually considered a mental illness. It was like somebody who's stuck in the past, somebody who could not move forward and who is thinking about things too much. They're it's like their mind was stuck in a past memory, and they weren't able to move forward. And I think people thought that the more nostalgic they felt, the more they were slipping into this mental illness. So they had tried to avoid it. But then in the future, nowadays, it has almost it has more of a positive spin to it. And because there's other things out there that are there are concepts out here now that are mental illness concepts that are much crazier than nostalgia. And stuff like depression, anxiety, those sorts of mental issues are much more demonized now. And they're just different. Whoa. They're just different issues that people have. But nostalgia was one of those issues, considered an issue back in the day. And nowadays, when people think of nostalgia, it sort of gives them a good feeling in their stomach. And there are different types. So there's nostalgia, looking back in your life and remembering the good old days. And then there is recalling stuff, which is a very objective way of looking back into your memories. It's so your memories are your brain recreating events that happened the way you saw it from your perspective. Not the actual way that it happened, but actually your interpretation of it. Whether it's negative or positive, it's all your interpretation of the past, right? So recalling something is more objective and less subjective. So it's less interpreting, just like nostalgia is very subjective. It's very much you're just remembering the good old parts of certain of your past, or that specific situation. Say it was a high school thing. You're just looking at the good old days when you were, playing basketball, skateboarding, hanging out with your friends, going to the mall, those kinds of things. Those are things that were good events, and you decided to keep them in your mind or keep them in memory, and that's nostalgia. Versus recalling is you're a witness to something, and and you're recalling oh yeah, this guy attacked this woman, and it's a little different. And then there's trauma. There's like the bad stuff where it's the opposite of nostalgia, where it's kind of you're just looking, instead of looking at the positive memories, you're looking at the negative stuff. And it is also subjective to some degree, but there is some truth in all of these three types of modes. So I'm gonna just focus on nostalgia. Nostalgia is, like, to me, very nostalgic things are really centered around food. Like, food was a big part of me growing up. I remember the food, like, from my grandma's house to my mom's house, to the family, like my uncles and aunts. I remember eating mangoes while taking care of horses with my uncle. I remember that was like, it was like, what is this magical fruit that he has all the time? And I didn't know it was mangoes. And he always used to eat it and give the rinds to the horse. So, like, we would feed those rinds to the horse and we'd eat the mango, mango meat. And I remember, like, going to my grandpa's house, and he always had skull. He always was chewing skull. And so that skull smell really reminds me of my grandpa. And so I was curious, like, wow, like, smells really do, and tastes really do have a huge impact on nostalgia. And that's what these studies were saying, is that, like, your brain is connected, or your nose and your taste buds are connected to parts of the brain that are really that really control like emotions, and especially like smells. When you have a smell, it hits almost the same area of the brain that where strong emotions occur, so they get often associated with each other. So say you're like, man, I remember eating, like, my mom used to make the best breakfast ever. It was like pancakes with, like, whatever she would add to it. And then you're just like, wow, that reminds me of my mom. And, it gives you a good feeling. Or you think about, you're like, oh man, I remember that when I was a kid, I used to go and get this specific ice cream, or I used to go and get this specific bread or something like that. My mom would make the best baked bread, and one of the big ones was cookies and baked goods. Baked goods were really are one of the most recognized smells. Like when you smell baked bread for the first time when it comes out of the oven, and you're just like, oh man, it's the best smell ever. Like, that smell is nostalgia, or it can be hooked to nostalgia. And I was thinking about this, and I just remember, like, my mom, she made the best tortillas ever. Like, that's what my mom's, like, superpower was, was making tortillas. They were just so good. And I've tried making them myself, and they just never came out exactly the same. The smell wasn't even the same. And I asked my mom for the recipe. She gave me the exact recipe, and, like, we made tortillas side by side, and there's just nothing. I can't even compare. Like, I don't know what it was. And but she has that, like, gift, or whatever it is, whatever it was that makes her stuff taste better than mine. Like, I just don't even know what it is. I ask her, and she says that it's love. So it's, there's a lot of smell really does, work directly with parts of the brain that induce nostalgia. And there are, because it's like because nostalgia is mostly focused on the positive side of things, I always think about, like, this channel, and I think about, like, all the things that I went through as a YouTuber. There were moments I made so many mistakes with my YouTube channel. One of the big mistakes is just not making videos, like, not continuously making videos for you guys. and, letting this sort of opportunity go on the wayside. But at the same time, this to me was not going to be something that I was going to consider as like a career option, because I felt that, like I saw the audience that I had, and I saw sort of like how things were moving, and I just didn't think that it was going to be feasible, that it would be a sort of career option. And even like the whole streaming thing now, people are really big into streaming, and I don't see myself being able to stream unless I stream Minecraft. I can do that, but I feel like it would I don't know how to add interaction with people on here. I get that I could talk and answer questions. That would be great. I mean, I could try it, but I've tried it in the past and it wasn't really successful. And I know that it's going to take me a long time to create viewership, and I don't know how long I can, sustain my channel using that sort of technique versus like me just sort of talking about things and on here. So going back to some comments that I had received, there's been some really well written comments about this series. And you guys, I don't know if you guys realize, or I don't know what you guys think about me and sort of like reading comments and going through your stuff. But I do read all your messages. I read all your tweets. I read all of your DMs, all of your any sort of messaging that you guys send me. I do read it, even if it's positive, negative, whatever. I read it. And one of them, or a lot of them, are really based on this series. This series I get the most comments from, and they're always talking about how like I was like a big, I provided entertainment for them, or like thought-provoking videos for them when they were, younger, or like they talk about how like I had helped them, overcome certain things. And I think that like that to me is very nostalgic. It's very much remembering mostly the positive parts of, my YouTube channel and stuff like that. And I think a lot of the negative stuff wasn't actually released on my channel. A lot of it was, heard of on the side and, talked about in different, forums and stuff like that. And I definitely had a lot of growing up to do when I first started my YouTube channel. I didn't really know like what I was going to do with this thing. And I had just literally been given something that I had no idea what it entailed. And, making music and stuff was really fun, and I still do it, but I just don't, I don't release stuff as much. And, I definitely want to see, and try things still and see what's going on. I've released videos, but they haven't got any views. And I just wonder like what people are subscribed to my channel for. And, I think a lot of the subscriptions are actually for Minecraft. And I think it is because of that feeling of nostalgia. Things that are nostalgic to me are very like mostly in the 90s. And things like TV shows, things like I said, like food. Like back in the day, there was places that I used to go to eat when I was a kid, and I go there now. Some of the places that are still around, they're still doing well. And especially there's this one restaurant that I used to go to. It's a breakfast restaurant. Well, it's not a breakfast, it's just a cafe, but they have they're open every day, and it's a Mexican restaurant in back home, and it is just the best place ever. And it's a like they have something called huevos rancheros, which it comes with hatch green chili. And if you guys don't know what hatch green chili is, it is an amazing chili that comes out of Hatch, New Mexico. And the food there, like they make everything from scratch. They don't have canned anything. They like cook all their beans from scratch. Like, normally they get their cheese from a local butcher that I know down there. They get all their meat sources locally. They get all of their vegetables locally from farmers in the area. And they just do everything correct. They cook everything correct. They have someone who makes, all the different breads and stuff like that for you. So it's just a really good place to eat. And I was thinking about sort of things that I really enjoyed back in the day. And that's a really big one. And then aside from that, there's a lot of places like going to the mall. There was, the skateboarding, like I said before, is a big one for me. I just bought a skateboard again, even though like I should not be on a skateboard. I'm sure back in the day when I used to fall and stuff like that, it wasn't a big issue. Now I'm pretty sure I'll be breaking stuff if I fall. But, I'm not going to be trying anything like I was when I was a kid, jumping off stairs and stuff like that, and trying to get on rails and do all kinds of craziness. I'm not going to try all that anymore. It's more about me just sort of, trying to get outside and skateboard, especially with my dog. Taking my dog for a skateboard would be really nice. And then some of the other things that I remember are TV shows. So shows like Darkwing Duck and a lot of the like the WB stuff. And then video games were just a huge nostalgia. So like Street Fighter. I remember playing a lot of Tekken, a lot of fighting games, because we used to spend a lot of time in the arcades. And in the arcade, you'd go in there with the, a couple, $5 or whatever, and you put it, and you have your $5 worth of quarters, and you go over and you put like your quarter on the machine to say that you're next, and then you fight someone, in Mortal Kombat or whatever. It was the latest, greatest, newest game. Street Fighter was a big one. And I used to be that one kid that was always like, like the little kid in the game, just beating all of the other older guys. And I used to have a lot of fun with that. And then, later on we started getting into like the console stuff. So like Super Nintendos, Nintendo 64 and Super Nintendo. I used to play, I think the very first game I got was Final Fantasy 3. Actually, no, Final Fantasy 2 was the first game I got ever. And that game was amazing. And then we got there was like Super Nintendo. When I got that, I remember, I got like the Super Mario World was the first Super Mario I played. And I played that for so long. I remember getting up to Bowser and beating him, and it was such a big event. Like everything was amazing, but the graphics were terrible. But it was just so much fun. Stuff like when I was a kid, going on field trips and like feeling that fun of like, oh man, like especially going to the Natural History Museum. That was a really big one. I was like really intrigued by like the insects. Like they had like this whole like bee colony, and you could look, and there was like a wall that you could see like inside of the beehive, and you could see how the bees work. And the bees were always like roaming around outside, and it was just really interesting to me. And then the dinosaurs part of it, thinking about cavemen, and they had like a lava thing where you like walk over lava, and it was just so much fun. And I was always intrigued when I would go there, about the new exhibits. And then there's like, I think about, so nostalgia is really great. And also one of the things that I read in the article was that nostalgia now, since it's more positive, can actually help you through things like depression. So people will, like they get an anxiety attack, or they get depressed, and actually experiencing nostalgia, whether that is like walking into a bakery and smelling, baked goods, or, looking at, stuff that reminds you of the past. If you're to like pull up Super Nintendo and play that again for the very first time, or you play GoldenEye 007 and it brings you back to that time, it actually will help you deal with, with your current depression, anxiety. It like brings you back to the values that you had when you were at that age, or all that. Basically, it's basically a way of recollecting on an intense amount of positive emotions, and that'll help you move forward and get out of. So now before in the past, it was thought of like something that would keep you from moving forward, and now it actually helps you move forward, especially if you're dealing with stuff like depression. So it's really crazy how things have changed, especially surrounding that whole situation, as far as like the science behind oh, I need to remember the keys. So the science behind some nostalgia and stuff like that. I always think about, so one thing that helps me. Can I eat this? Oh, no. Oh, there's a baby. Let's kill this guy. Nice. There we go. I always think about things. I keep throwing my stuff away. There you go. Boom. I keep thinking about things that make me nostalgic. Well, so when I have a anxiety attack or something, I always have to like leave the space where I'm in. So like if I say I freak out one day and I'm like, man, I should really I really won't want to be right here, or like I freak out about bills or something like that. And it really helps me to turn on. I have this PS, one of those like little Sony machines that are based. I don't remember. I think maybe it's called the PS Vita. I don't think it's a Vita. I don't remember the name of it though. But I pull that thing up and it has Tekken on there, Tekken Tag Tournament, and if I focus on trying to do combos and practice those things, it pulls me back to when I was a kid and I was, trying to remember these combos so I could beat my friends or whatever. And that really helps to pull me out and focus on, stuff that reminds me of the good old days when I was a kid. So like I think about that, and I think like when I release these videos, I wonder how many people actually feel nostalgia like that sort of effect. And I wonder like, and with me doing that sort of gives me the incentive to want to make more of these videos. So like that is probably a big reason why. And I think like this is going to help me fall asleep, because I'm like, I'm trying to I'm trying to get better nights of sleep, but I've just been recently just waking up. And I think like, man, like what was it in the past that I used to do that would allow me to sleep all this time? And I think it has to do a lot with anxiety. I think it has to do with a lot with like, man, I've got all these things that I'm responsible for now. And like I can't sleep because I'm just thinking about stuff for, too much. And then so nostalgia would be one of those things that I can use to actually get myself back out of that, back out of the gray and back into the new, and build some better memories, build some better nostalgic memories. And, you know, going into like where I'm at, some of the stuff that I can do is, you know, share those nostalgic moments with a family I create, or, you know, like people that I meet. I can create new nostalgic memories with, you know, girls that I date, or like people that I meet, relationships that I have, whether that's work relationships, friend relationships, you know, just different types of interactions I have with people. And I hope to create a lot of those in the future. And I think it starts with stuff that I have access to now. And one of those things is this outlet, this channel. And I'm going to, you know, like I said, like I never had a schedule for my Minecraft stuff. I know at one point I wanted to create a server and all that kind of stuff. I just couldn't find, you know, resources. And by resources, I mean, I just didn't want to go through. I looked into it, and there's a lot of maintenance in terms of like finding moderators and doing all that kind of stuff. So like, I think there's also a lot of Minecraft servers out there that are full of people that are doing it much better than I am. So I'll leave it up to them. I'll just keep making videos, and let me know what you guys think about things. Let me know what you guys think gives you nostalgia, and you know how has nostalgia helped you through situations like anxiety or whatever you're going through. I think it's really interesting, and I appreciate all the comments you guys send me, like especially on my old Minecraft videos. You guys also opened me up to like different ideas about things. Like someone asked me about like why there was this theme of like talking about specific things for a while. I don't remember what it was, but the guy asked me about it, and I was like, wow. And then I had to re-listen to, you know, what I was talking about in those series, and I'm like, wow, this guy really pointed out something that I didn't even see myself. And I didn't respond to him because I didn't know how to respond to him. And it was like I don't know, like a 5 or 6 year old video that he just found. And it's really crazy that people are still just finding these Minecraft videos. But anyway, yeah, let me know what you guys think. I can also move to literally just know like Minecraft in the background and literally just do like a podcast sort of thing. I don't know if that would work better, or if like, because if it was a podcast sort of thing, I could even put it on, you know, Spotify and stuff like that. I don't know how. I just don't know how worth it is to do something like that. Plus, like, this is just sort of a fun thing to do. And if you guys appreciate it, let me know. Leave a comment. If this is your first time watching this sort of, you know, this series, I would say like subscribe. I'll probably make more. I'll probably make a lot more things in the future that are non-Minecraft. I'm probably going to get back into music, and you know, like I released a Fortnite song recently. So if you guys haven't seen that, go check that out. I'll leave it in it'll appear after the video, or you can check my channel and you can, you know, see the video. But anyways, I hope you guys have a better night's sleep than I have, or if it's in the morning, have a great day. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.